I would like to give the last few minutes of my time to an absolute torchbearer in Williamson County. So I've detailed how we've come up against, we've exercised every civic avenue for change to get this curriculum out from in front of our children. We went through our school board, our county commission, our state legislature, the governor himself, the commissioner of education, nothing. So enter Trisha Lucente from Parents' Choice Tennessee, a 501c3, who is in need of help, by the way, who has filed a lawsuit for wit and wisdom, and the defendants are none other than Commissioner of Education Penny Schwinn, our superintendent, our assistant superintendent of curriculum, and our school board. That's how they say it.
So much thank you, Robin, for giving me a couple minutes to talk about it. I wanted to read something from the front page of our lawsuit. So as soon as it begins, we've got a little quote from a Supreme Court decision from Bellotti versus Baird. Parental autonomy is basic to the structure of our society because the family is the institution by which we inoculate and pass down many of our most cherished values, morals, and cultural. And what that meant to me is that the government is overstepping, and the parental right of how we raise our children, the morals that we instill, and the values and the kind of citizens they become has been taken over by our schools. And the publisher of Wit and Wisdom, Great Minds, says very blatantly, we are trying to create good citizens. And that's the job of a parent. They should be learning in school, reading, writing, math, science, social studies, but they should not be getting the bias that comes with it. And they should not be learning to be good citizens there. And that's where social emotional learning comes in. Social emotional learning is a tool of therapy that became a tool in education. And it breaks children down in the way of, it shows them destructive topics like misery and death and civil rights. It shows them pictures of and books where there's a small black child being shot with a fire hose by a white fireman. And it says, how do you think that child feels? And write down the feelings. And what do you think that firefighter is thinking? And what do you think they're going to do next? And it asks them questions like this, and it has them write these things down. It shows them stories about a little girl who is so sick that she thinks that she might die because she's so hungry, but she has chickenpox. And then it says to the teacher, explain to the children what misery and starvation means. And that starvation is to suffer and die from lack of food. And that's a first grade thing. I have a 6-year-old at home. And when I met Moms for Liberty women, because I didn't want my child masked, I said, oh my God, what are all these things? And I watched the 90-minute video, and I met a lot of those great women, and I said, this is awful. What can we do about it? And then I heard they had done a lot about it, and nothing had happened. And so it just so happens that my best friend is an attorney. And I said, what are we doing? We're standing at a PTO carnival for making smart boards for all these kids. And I said, can you sue them? And she said, I'll come in and talk to Larry, her boss. Larry Crane is a great attorney, constitutional attorney in Brentwood. And so I did. And I said, Larry, there's an organization called Let Them Breathe in California, and they created an organization to sue on behalf of a group of people. Can we do that here? And we talked through it, and Larry watched some of the Moms for Liberty presentation, and he said, yeah, let's do it. And that's when Parents' Choice was born. So I made Parents' Choice, and then I spent 8 months pulling out all the awful things and learning all about SEL critical theory. And critical theory teaches our children to look through the lens, to see the world through the lens of a critical theorist, is to look for problems, in society, in our government, in everything. When we teach a 7-year-old to look for problems, and when we teach them about death and die and sadness, it has an entire tone of sadness. So somebody said to me, well, what about if the judge says, take out this book and take out that book? And that's not acceptable because the entire curriculum has a tone of sadness for social emotional learning. It breaks them down and it does plant seeds. It plants seeds of all kinds of things. And Vladimir Lenin said, give me one generation and I'll change the world. And that's one generation of children this all going to take. And then they're going to be Martian soldiers. And they're also going to be our politicians. They're going to be our bankers. They're going to be our doctors. They're going to be our homeless. And what kind of people are they going to be when they've been at 7 years old asked, how does that little girl feel? I'm just being shot with a fire hose. And how does that little girl feel who is suffering and dying, thinks she's going to die from chickenpox? And how do these people feel? Feel. As all of them, write down their feelings. And so that's where I think that if you think about SEL, and I like to give this analogy as a train track. Social emotional learning is a train track. And then on that track comes the train, which is critical race theory, which is queer theory, which is gender ideology, which is feminism, which is BLM, which is what is a woman, which is non-binary. Every single one of them comes through on that track of social emotional learning. It's so easy to slide it in there. And I was going to give you a couple little things. Wit and wisdom is most disruptive in their how part. I don't know. I can't do all that. I'm terrible at that stuff. And I'm not a public speaker. But I do want you to know that I am a former, very liberal, I believe, product of social emotional learning. Because when I went to college, I went to the University of Alabama. I was very Democrat, and I married a conservative man who thought I was crazy but loved me anyway. And then I became a parent, and becoming a parent and sending a little person out into the world made me say, what is going on in this world? And who is that doing this? And now I am a millennial Republican. So it can't be done. Millennial Republican suing our Tennessee Commissioner of Education, our school board, our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, because they are destructive to my child, to my neighbor's, my liberal neighbor's child. And I said to somebody who said, well, what right do you have to tell other people what to do with their children? And I said, well, I don't. But if you won't pay attention, I'll parent your child. I'll take them. I'll take my child and your child, and I will love them all, and I will fight for all of them. Because that's all we can do. Give me the time to talk. And our website is parentschoicetennessee, all spelled out, .org. And you can read our entire lawsuit there. And we also have an affidavit by James Lindsay, who is one of our expert witnesses, and Jennifer McWilliams, who's another one of our expert witnesses. And there's also one by me that has a 200-page exhibit of examples from the teacher manuals, warnings to the teachers, all these things in it. But if you read nothing else, read the affidavits, because they explain social emotional learning, they explain how it got there, why it's there, and how it's turning our children into little communists. And those are a shorter read than the whole lawsuit, because it's pretty long. But thank you. Thank you for giving me the time, and go to our website.
Williamson County, find these ladies while you're here, get on their e-newsletter, go to their meetings. So often with these organizations, and you've all been there before, whether it's your local Republican Party or conservative group, and I can point out people in the room right now, all this weight, this burden falls on, 90% of the burden falls on 10%. It's true. It's terrible. We've all been stuck in that situation before, but you got to do it, right? Some of these folks in these organizations that are speaking today, in particular if you're in their county, don't let them carry all this crap by themselves. Find them while you're here. Ask them, what can I help you with? What's consuming your time? What kind of resources do you have? Can I give you a little bit of money every month? Help these people that are in this room that are lifting these heavy loads, and try to make it a little lighter for them.